robbers find it difficult to leave the shore in the first place. A group from Africa eventually abandoned their attempt to leave the coast this morning, leaving behind a boat and some possessions which were later seized by Turkish police. But the authorities here know that along this coastline, people will keep traveling to Europe, whatever the risk. The Crown Prince of Thailand has led a mass bicycle ride through the capital Bangkok to pay tribute to his mother, Queen Sirikit. Around 300,000 people registered to join the ride, all wearing the national colours associated with the Queen. The monarchy commands respect in Thailand. Both the Queen and King Bhumibol are in very frail health and are rarely seen in public. Our Southeast Asia correspondent Jonathan Head has sent us this report from Bangkok. The sweltering heat and unforgiving traffic, Bangkok is an unpromising setting for a cycling event. But against the odds, cycling has taken off as a hobby in recent years. The day the heir to the throne, Crown Prince Vajiralongkorn, tapped into that craze by leading a mass cycle ride through the capital, along streets that have been cleared of traffic by the police. But this is more than just royal promotion of healthy living. The event was billed Bike for Mom as a tribute to Queen Sirikit, who celebrated her 83rd birthday this week, but who remains largely out of sight after suffering a stroke 3 years ago. The Prime Minister, Prayut Chan-o-cha, who joins the ride with his cabinet, said he hoped it would unite a country which is still divided over last year's military coup. But it is the rare appearance at such a high-profile public event by the 63-year-old Crown Prince, which will be noted by royal watchers. Thailand's severe lèse-majesty law deters any open discussion of the succession or of the Crown Prince's image problems, and it is no secret that many Thais are anxious about what happens after the death of King Bhumibol, whose health is very frail. Sport now and football, and in the big match of the weekend in the English Premier League, last season's runners-up Manchester City have beaten the champions 3-0. Sports World Samuel Ken joins me now. Still quite a match. It was indeed, and what a contrast for the two teams. Manchester City have 6 points from their opening 2 games, while Chelsea have just 1. Sergio Aguero put City ahead in the first half, then Vincent Kompany and Fernandinho made certain of the win for City after the break. For manager Manuel Pellegrini, it was a complete team performance.
Yes, because we created a lot of chances, because we scored 3 goals, because we hit the cases, because we were a consistent team during the whole game. It's impossible when you play against a big team of Chelsea not to dominate the complete game. Of course, they have to have some minutes, and they have in the second half, but in their best moment, they didn't create anything of just not one chance to score. So that's why I'm happy about all what we did today.
It's not the start to the season Chelsea would have expected, or perhaps Captain John Terry, who was substituted for Kurt Zuma at half-time, having played every minute of last season. It's the first time since 1998 that Chelsea have failed to win one of their opening 2 fixtures. Mourinho, though, argued that 3-0 wasn't an accurate reflection of the game.
I think it's fake. It's fake result. If it's only 2-0 at half-time, I'll say yes. But at the end of the game, I think completely not, because we were the best team by far in the second half. What they did in the first half, we did in the second half. Basically, we dominated the game, we were in control, we had the ball, we shoot, and for me, it's completely fixed.
Well, the defeat completed a miserable week for Mourinho. He's been widely criticised for demoting his medics Eva Canero and John Fern after they went onto the pitch to treat Evan Hazard during last weekend's draw with Swansea, and their replacements had to come on to treat Gary Cahill, prompting City fans to goad the Chelsea boss with a series of stunts. And so the third-place team from last season, Arsenal, they've also got action. Yes, and after their surprising defeat at home to West Ham, they won 2-1 at Crystal Palace, with manager Arsene Wenger admitting to a sense of relief. Olivier Giroud put Arsenal ahead. Joe Ward then equalised for Palace, and then a shot from Alexis Sanchez was deflected into his own goal by Jamie and Delaney early in the second half. On Monday, Liverpool take on one of the promoted sides of Bournemouth. Thanks, Sarah. You're listening to the newsroom here on the BBC World Service, and Julie has some other stories from our news desk. The U.S. civil rights activist Julian Bond has died in Florida at the age of 75 after a short illness. He was one of the preeminent American student activists in the 1960s, organizing anti-segregation protests and registration drives for black voters. President Obama said he'd been privileged to have called Julian Bond a friend. The Angolan opposition activist Rafael Marques has accused his country's government of applying methods similar to those used under apartheid in South Africa. In an interview with a French news agency, Mr. Marques said the police had set dogs on the mothers of jailed opposition supporters during a protest against their detention. Earlier this year, Mr. Marques was given a 6-month suspended sentence for defaming military generals in a book about the Angolan diamond industry. The American film director Colin Trevorrow is to be in charge of the 9th installment of the popular Star Wars film franchise. He recently directed Jurassic World, which has been a box office hit around the world. Star Wars Episode 9 is set for release in 2019. Nigeria's commercial capital Lagos is a megacity with at least 20 million inhabitants who regularly endure what must be among the worst traffic jams in the world. Morning commuting from the suburbs into town can be an epic journey of 3 or even 4 hours. Lagos badly needs new transport infrastructure, and a new railway has been promised for decades. It's only recently that the project has actually taken off, with more than a little help from China. The Nigeria correspondent will report.
We're just walking along the track here because there's some serious welding to take. Weld the joints of rail track together. 12-metre pieces of steel that have been imported from Italy and welded together by a Nigerian crew working for a Chinese contractor. And the sparks are now flying. And I can see the elevated section of the rail, which is about 15 metres off the ground, like a bridge, stretching off into the distance, going over the top of some swampy areas and also towering above the many corrugated iron roofed homes in this very densely populated city of Lagos. The project is way behind schedule, but people are excited to see the concrete bridges mushrooming across the skyline. And so many hours are lost in the traffic jams. Economic analyst Anthony Brown says the arrival of the train would be a major boost to Lagos' economy and should help people end some pretty dreadful routines. Sometimes they wake up at early as 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to just beat the traffic to get to the office or sleep at the car park. They get to the office maybe 5:30, so that they can sleep till 7, 8, and go resume work. Usually, this amount of time people stay just sitting down in traffic doing nothing could significantly add to the productivity of the Lagos economy. This is a public-private partnership, and while Lagos State Government is paying for the Train 9, it invited bids for the concession to import the trains and actually run the service. The consortium of Nigerian and international investors called Echo Rail was the preferred bidder. They even went as far as buying second-hand trains and carriages from the Toronto subway in Canada. But the consortium couldn't agree financial terms with the government, and now it's no longer involved in the whole rail project. It is a great challenge building an overground railway in an unplanned, densely populated city. And with Nigeria's economy in some trouble now, there are a few hurdles ahead before this much-needed project can be finished. I'm told that by the end of next year, that's 7 years after construction began, 13 kilometres of track should be opened. Slow progress, but at least it's a start in the effort to get Lagos moving.
And that was our Nigeria correspondent, Will Ross, reporting there from Lagos. We've been listening to the newsroom from the BBC World Service with me, Valerie Sanderson. Our main news this hour. The former Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki could face legal action after the fall of Mosul to Islamic State militants following an official investigation. And protests are taking place in cities across Brazil right now by thousands of people demanding the impeachment of President Dilma Rousseff. More on our website, bbc.com/news. That's it for now. This is the BBC World Service. Before the news, here is 10-second extra to tell you about the next edition of The Conversation. This week I'm speaking with 2 women who've made a new life in a different country. Mahbouba Raouf fled Afghanistan during the Soviet-Afghan War, walking for 10 days across the border into Pakistan.
When we arrived in Pakistan, I had bruises in my leg and my body for many months.
And a community organizer, ASeela, was born in Zimbabwe and left in her teens. When she moved to the UK, she faced racism and bullying at school.
So thinking my brother took her to daughter here. And then since that moment of telling my story and opening up to my class of who I am, the news who said there was instead of who is that migrant.
Inspiring personal stories about women, by women, for everyone. The Conversation. Monday at 16:30 and 21:30 1 Tuesday.
What's it like to walk for 500 kilometers through the sugarcane plantations and mountains of southeast Brazil? I'm Bob Walker, and the heart and soul from the BBC World Service. I've been travelling along the Camino de Fé, one of the newest pilgrimage routes in the world, which leads to the holiest site of Brazil's estimated 130 million Catholics. I've been talking to those who are seeking enlightenment as they battle the hills and the heat after the latest news headlines.
BBC News. An official investigation in Iraq has found the former Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki and more than 30 other senior political and military figures responsible for the fall of Mosul to Islamic State militants last year. Legal action is due to follow. In the past hour, the current Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi has announced that he's scrapping 11 cabinet posts as part of a wide-ranging reform program. At least 80 people are reported to have been killed in Syria in government airstrikes at a marketplace in Douma, a rebel-held town close to Damascus. Tens of thousands of protesters, many wearing the green and yellow colors of the Brazilian flag, have taken to the streets in cities across Brazil to demand the impeachment of President Dilma Rousseff. They say her credibility has been damaged by a corruption probe surrounding the state-owned oil giant Petrobras. The leader of the Nigerian Islamist group Boko Haram has denied reports that he's been killed or ousted. In a recording of what is believed to be the voice of Abu Bakr Shekau, he describes as lies suggestions that he's dead, incapacitated or sick. The South Sudanese President Salva Kiir is in Ethiopia for talks aimed at ending the 20-month conflict in his country. Government and rebel leaders face international sanctions if they fail to sign a deal by Monday. Indonesian transport officials say villagers have located the wreckage of a domestic passenger plane which crashed into a mountain with 54 people on board. The plane lost contact with air traffic control during bad weather in the remote Papua region. And police in the Indian city of Kolkata say they found a cash haul so big it took them 21 hours to count it. They allege the money, the equivalent of more than $3 million, was used to bribe a government